Hello, everybody. My name is David, and this is Garage Talk, the show that looks at independent film making in the Pacific Northwest. We have a phenomenal project we're going to be talking about today called First Name Basis. It is written and directed by Jon Ferriell. John?
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And it stars Andrew Ferriell.
What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. This is what's going on.
Fair enough.
And also Guy Rodgers.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Above average.
That's what we go for here. Above average on Garage Talk. Well, so Jonathan, do you want to start us off and talk a little bit about what's the story of First Name Basis?
Yeah, I'd love to. So basically, the story is about a investigative journalist whose name is Larry Wade, and he's trying to, the project he's on, he's trying to dig up information, you could say maybe dirt, on a kind of a well-known sort of real estate mogul named Anton Monroe. And he's currently on his way to interview one of Monroe's friends, who's a state senator, a longtime friend of this mogul type character. And basically the plot is pretty simple. It's about sort of this tension that builds from the start of the interview to from the start of the interview to the end of the interview, just kind of the dynamics that take place within that like 10 or more like 10-minute time span.
Cool.
Yeah.
What kind of inspired the story?
Well, I would say, so I guess to start, I really wanted to work with Andrew. That was a big thing because, like in high school and before, I'd worked on very small, like experimental projects, but I'd never done anything that was like kind of your formal, your typical like a typical film, short or long, with the protagonist, the antagonist, the 3 acts, or you could argue whether this has 3 acts, but at least 2 acts maybe. And so I knew I wanted to do that with him, and I knew I wanted to do something that was noir, or neo-noir, I should say. That's probably I love that genre. But the problem is Andrew was moving. When I started writing something, he told me that him and my sister-in-law were moving. So I had about like 4 months, and I was like, I was like, okay, I want to make something. What can we do in 4 months? So I think the idea was if the film is mainly 2 people in a room talking, then we can write it and shoot it within that time. So that was kind of where it started, I suppose.
Very, very cool. We have a clip of the film that we're going to show here. Yeah. Do you want to kind of give us a little bit of intro of what we're going to take a look at?
Yeah, of course. What you're going to see is Andrew's character, Larry, is on his way to the house of the senator, the state senator he's going to interview, named Dennis Herman. And he realizes he gets a call from his boss. And so he simply pulls over to the side of the road to take the call. And him and his boss kind of work through some of what he might be getting into with the interview, and she shares some of her concerns, and it just kind of gives you kind of an idea of what the type of person Dennis Herman might be. So yeah.
Larry.
Hey, boss. Sorry I missed your call there. I ran into a little bit of a dead zone. What's going on?
Yeah, so Liza tells me you have an interview with Senator Herman today?
Yeah, I'm on my way right now, actually.
And this is about the Monroe story.
Correct.
Now remember, you said you were going to tread lightly with this one.
What makes you think I'm not going to tread lightly?
Don't act dumb, Larry. I know you're new to this paper, but I know you well enough to know you don't intend to play softball with good old boys.
Well, I know it doesn't sound good, but I'm just gonna need you to trust me on this one, okay?
What I need you to do It's too late to cancel, has to go through with the interview and ask Herman all the questions he already knows the answer to. I don't want to get a call from my senior tomorrow asking why I let our writers harass public officials. All right?
Copy.
How the hell did you even land this thing anyway?
Well, I had an old client that owed me a favor.
All right. I'm gonna let you go. Just do what I say and drive safely, all right?
Will do. Bye.
You guys shot this here in Oregon, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about making films in Oregon is sort of these beautiful landscapes that we have. And a question that kind of popped into my mind when you were giving the description of the plot, was there kind of a conscious decision to have Larry leaving from Eugene and kind of going to a more isolated area that might be outside of his comfort zone?
I agree with you so much about the landscapes.
Yeah.
I guess I thought the coast is just so perfect for like a detective type film, just with, I mean, we shot on a sunny day,
Yeah.
but for the most part, the coast parts, but I don't know, there's just something like, yeah, I just thought it's fitting to work that in somehow.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful moment, and like I said, it creates these kind of automatic, beautiful pictures. You have this kind of beautiful backdrop, and it's interesting that you have this kind of pretty background against something that seems somewhat. There's some tension in that moment, so I think that's really, really kind of fun.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. So Andrew, Jonathan said he wanted to work with you.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like that role of Larry was kind of always the role that you were going to play. Did you have a lot of help in shaping who that character was and the story, or was that really he gave you the script and you go, okay?
So John was very specific about how he wanted it. Mm-hmm. So obviously we were living together when he wrote it and presented it to me. So he went over a ton about kind of the pacing, because stillness was a big part of Larry. Mm-hmm. And so there was so much that he was very precise on. So it wasn't so much me as it was honestly just full direction from him. Mm-hmm. And I was cool with that. I mean, it's his story, his characters. So it was like, let me just try to get this as best as you want it to be done. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was pretty much John.
Cool.
Yeah.
I found your costuming actually really kind of, maybe provocative is a strong word, but there was.
Oh, really?
But kind of there's this interesting thing because there's Gar's character has this sort of, there's I think blues and kind of more neutral colors, and the house has kind of all these warm colors to it.
Yeah.
And then you're there kind of in this contrasting, stark kind of black outfit, and it felt very kind of guarded and protected with this coat.
That's true. I never thought about that. That's true.
Yeah. Now was that something that did you pick out costumes, or was that presented?
Yeah, I was going for like a Steve Jobs kind of look.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
No, so we literally did like 5 or 6 different outfits. Uh-huh. He's like, try that back on. All right, take it off. Try that on. Like for an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. I was like, I think this looks really good. Like I told him the exact outfit we used. I was like, I think this looks great. So maybe that was the one piece of input I had a lot on. Yeah. Was that outfit, but I never thought about that. It was pretty guarded. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, and so maybe that maybe brings me to my next line of questioning is, and this is for both Andrew and Gar, but what was your approach to these characters? I mean, I think they both have a past that maybe they're trying to ignore a little bit, or just say, hey, don't think about this, but that obviously has to influence who they are and what they're doing. So can you guys talk to me a little bit about what that process was? Maybe Gar, if you want to start off.
Yeah, having worked offshore as a younger guy, the whole connection with the working on the fishing boats, though I was doing the oil fields, I was not on a fishing boat. But getting the hell out of that was kind of like this emotional grab for me, for saying, okay, this guy wants out, and and he's just as corrupt as hell, and he doesn't want to go back there, and he's not going to go back there.
Okay.
So it really was the anchor for me was I want out, and I'll do whatever I can to stay out of that kind of lifestyle.
Okay. That's interesting. So that kind of became the basis of what your
Yeah, that
approach
was
to the
a
character
big part
was.
of it, and corruption, just rotten at the core, just rotten at the core.
Got it. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, how about yourself, Andrew?
Well, I think the character, it worked well with me, at least. I'm pretty inquisitive just in general. I ask a lot of questions. So it kind of, the character worked with my personality. I'm kind of playing myself a little bit. I'm not doing too much character development, to be honest. And it really was just about subtlety and building the tension. That's all it was. It's like, I just need to make sure that this guy knows I'm not a friendly interviewer. You know, I'm here to like get down to something. You know, I probably have dirt that I know that I'm not revealing to him, and kind of the body language and tonality is revealing that, and just trying to get to the bottom of the dirt of this shark. You know, so that was kind of the main anchor. Is like push him.
Yeah. Interesting.
And you were not friendly.
Yeah.
You were not a friendly interview.
No, yeah, yeah.
Did that, I was gonna say, does that influence how you guys kind of behave on set, or?
Yeah, we fought a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know that flat tire that you had when you left?
Guy shanked your tire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting because to me it sounds like maybe there's I always find actors' processes fascinating because I think there's a lot of millions of different ways to approach it, and I think it's fascinating. Maybe it sounds like on this film you guys were kind of coming at it from maybe some different angles, which is Gar is a very internal kind of, this is what he wants, this is what he needs, and that's what's going to drive me. Whereas Andrew, you were kind of coming at it from a standpoint of these are the kind of physical ideas and boundaries that have been presented to me that we need to maintain with this character, and so using my physical body and voice to manage that character.
I didn't have any background on who the guy was. You know, what he'd done previously. It was kind of a blank slate, you know, character. And so it was all just, okay, this is what's on the page, this is what's going on. How can I navigate that and deliver? So it was pretty practical. There wasn't a whole lot of behind the scenes thinking, to be honest.
Cool. No, I think that's a perfectly great answer.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the work of Konstantin Stanislavski, he talks about building a physical life for your characters. That's the first part. So I think that's a great approach to use.
All right.
Yeah, and one that I don't think enough actors use. Like, I think there's this kind of, in modern cinema, there's this sort of like, I've got to go from internal all the time. But I think you can build just as interesting performances from going, these are the physical traits I put into the place. So
I'll take it,
excellent.
man. I'll take
Beautiful work on both actors' parts. So, Jonathan, what were some of the challenges that you experienced in working on this film, either as the writer, the director, post-production? Where were some of the things that really you had to dig into and find new and different ways of thinking about it?
Yeah, I think the first thing that would come to mind is, I think Andrew touched on this some. I guess it was like trying to make a, you know, I guess the climax of the film isn't really, it's not necessarily people shouting at each other, or it's not what you could say super dramatic, I guess. I guess it's trying to slowly build tension, slowly build drama or conflict, you know, without, making like a crescendo versus, that makes sense too. And you know, without, you know, violence, you know, involved or, you know, some type of, I guess, I don't know the right terms for it exactly. But I think that was a challenge. That was more so in writing, I feel like. Like once, and I want to say I tried. You know what I mean? I tried. I don't want to. I tried with the writing to get it as close as I could. In dialogue too, I think I hadn't written that much. I'd written a little dialogue before on like little projects, but just trying to write realistic dialogue. It took me a long time to get it to a place where I thought it was acceptable at least.
I thought it was great. I really,
Thank you.
really enjoyed it. And you know,
Thank you.
not to give anything away, but towards the end of the piece, Gar's character tells a story, and there is this sort of slow build, and the way it's shot, the way the story is being told, is a phenomenal kind of moment of this build. It kind of reminds me of the adage that they ended up using for Jaws, right? Which is, it's scarier for me to imagine what that shark is like than actually showing it. And so we have this sort of story that's being told, and we get to the end of the story, and Gar says this piece, and then, you know, Larry goes, okay. and we have to deal with the aftermath of that, and then what is going to happen, and what are they going to do? And so I think it does a wonderful job of building tension and creating this sort of strong sense of unease.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That Jaws story is profound. Yeah. That's profound.
Yeah.
And-
Was there anything in terms of working with the actors that felt like, was that a different approach for you? What did you kind of come at it differently working with Gar versus Andrew?
Totally. Yeah, I definitely did approach them different. I think, like Andrew said, Andrew's kind of, I think his role was really difficult in the sense that I didn't give him any like background really too much. I guess I kind of wanted him to be some type of a alteration to that like typical PI type character, which I feel like, yeah, I want him to be some alteration to that and to kind of just trying to embody that. So I directed him very specifically, I guess, kind of telling him, which I don't know. I think if I could go back, I probably would have given you more leeway or more freedom, because there was a lot of ways we could have done it, but I'm happy with and I wanted Andrew was great because I think he had, for that role, I just knew he would have a lot of control over his voice and body, and he would need that. Like, he wasn't gonna be able to just like let loose. You know what I mean? I didn't need him to go crazy or anything, for lack of better words. So that was kind of how I worked with Andrew. Gar, I think I kind of let you do. I don't know. I wanted to. I don't know. I feel like I didn't have to direct your character as much. You kind of just would more easily. I shouldn't say that Andrew couldn't easily settle into his character, but I think you just. I think I could just kind of let you do your thing a little more, settle into it. I don't know. It's kind of like. Yeah, I don't know. I just think your experience a little bit just allowed you to, settle into it a little more. What do you think?
I had a handle on who I thought the character was, and apparently it worked for you, which is very nice.
Yeah.
My only struggle, of course, as you recall, was some line issues.
Sure.
But the fact that we went over and over and over and over and picked, I think, the best scenes, the best pieces.
Okay.
And it kind of cut together pretty well.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's just like, Gar's voice.
Right.
That was, Gar's, I don't know. He just settled in. I just feel like he settled into that shark type character, Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say you're a shark in real life. I'm just saying you play one on TV. Well, at least.
So Gar, what was kind of, on that note, what was your favorite part about doing this role? What was the most fun?
Well, I was sick as a dog, actually, and well, not sick. I hadn't slept. Okay. I hadn't slept the night before, so I was kind of like this pile of garbage when I walked in the door that morning, and so okay, I'll pull it together, and these guys gave me some freedom and said, okay. They were working in the other room, and I'm in here going, okay, come on, but I just sort of felt like I had it, and all I had to do was get the damn lines right.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is occasionally when I would lock eyes with this fellow over here, there was some kind of weird feedback that helped me stay on task,
Yeah.
stay on, for doing my job, as it were. And I don't know, it worked for me. That's all I can say.
Excellent. No, it worked for me too.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, so Andrew, how about yourself? What was kind of your favorite part of this performance?
Oh,
and
it
this
was definitely
piece?
going back and forth with Gar. That was fun. That was fun. Because Gar's intense. He's got a great voice. He's got great physicality. He's got a good, like, intimidating presence in real life and in screen. You're like, he might mess me up. For real. Even though he was sick, that was my only prayer. I was like, okay, he's sick. I'm fine. But yeah, that was a lot of fun going back and forth together because he really allowed the tension to build. We could really go back and forth on it and create a good scene. So that was fun to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. How about yourself, Jonathan? What was your favorite part of this process?
Honestly, my favorite part was the collaboration. Like, I mean, but this project was by far the most people I gotten to work with. I got to work with a small handful of people before on my own projects, but I don't know. I think that's the biggest joy of. I'm sure you feel. I'm sure everyone here, because I'm sure we all feel the same way. The collaboration, and I have to say this now. I can't wait. Yeah, Rick Gates. Yeah, that. Yeah, because
Rick's the
and I
boss.
have to say
Yeah,
this
he's
because
the
you
boss.
asked
Yes.
like, well, how did you deal with this? How did you deal with that? Working with him and kind of having his creative input
Yep.
was huge. Having his technical input was huge, but also having him kind of spot was a huge joy and gave a lot of freedom.
And Rick was your cinematographer on this project?
He was.
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, and
there as well.
he wore a lot of hats. He was cinematographer, producer, and a lot of other hats too.
Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think this question is mostly for Jonathan, but Gar and Andrew, I'd love to hear if you guys have feedback on this as well. One of the things I find most fascinating in filmmaking is when I pick up the script to when I film it to when I edit it to the final project that I have. There is a journey that piece takes, and sometimes it ends in a different place than where it started. So was there anything that kind of happened along the process of making this movie that shifted it in a different dynamic or different direction that you were not expecting?
That's a good question.
I mean, I remember the script pretty much being what it was. I don't know. Was there an end when we did it? Did you have an end written, or did that come later?
The end changed a lot.
Okay, yeah.
I guess I'm thinking about the writing, the pre-shooting. I think we maybe did a little rewriting.
Sure.
While we were shooting.
Because it was a lot of it was on the fly. Like he had a really good draft. I mean, pretty much what you saw was on page, except for the ending. But literally, my wife was packing up stuff while we were shooting, and after we got done, the very next day we moved out. So everything was very much on the fly. Like we had to just get it done.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's pretty interesting.
No pressure, right?
I was going to say.
No pressure there.
Time was of the essence for sure.
No, well, and I think sometimes that's interesting, right? Because I've worked on projects where you finish filming and maybe everything's not quite where you wanted it or you got everything you wanted.
Yeah.
But then in the edit, you go, well, okay, how do I make that work? And so I think that's pretty fascinating. Was the edit of this project, was it pretty easy, or was it I have to look at a lot of different footage and take pieces because we had a very finite amount of time to work?
Yeah, I'd say the edit was a challenge for me. I mean, granted, I'm new to editing, but I'd say it was a challenge just because of all the dialogue. Yeah. And I'm kind of like, I guess I suppose you could say a bit OCD with things, so it's just like, you could have, just with all the dialogue, this hello versus that hello, or whatever line it is, kind of, I think that was a challenge, but not because of performance, really, just because of options.
Yeah.
Just so many options. We got a lot of footage.
Yeah.
And also I guess to go back to kind of your first question, which I kind of blanked on earlier. I mean, I guess the project was kind of a reality check in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Just not having done a real formal thing before. It was like, I guess there was a lot of like smaller things within scenes that had to be changed that I think we for the better, but nevertheless it had to change, you know, which I'm happy with.
So we are just about out of time here. The question that I always like to close on, and again, similarly directed to Jonathan, but both Andrew and Gar, we love your input as well. For people who are watching our show who are thinking about making their first film, or they're thinking about getting into the world of performance and acting and storytelling, what advice do you have for those folks? And Jonathan, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I guess I would just say, I'd say try and get some advice, like get some advice, just because, and I only say that just because, I don't know, get as much advice as you can, get as much input as you can. I think I sort of automatically got that from, all the people I got to work with, but I didn't have to search for it too hard. But just try and get advice and just try and take it as just try and consider it as well as you can. Yeah. Because I don't know, I think I just look at how I'm pretty happy with the project, and I look at how all the input that went into it from whether it was Gar and Andrew, Rick, Will, whoever, crew members that helped. And I'm just glad that all that input was given, because it would have been very different if it was just me and just me trying to see only my vision through. I probably wouldn't have been as happy with it. So I guess that's kind of what I would say.
Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. Gar or Andrew, either? Yeah.
Well, I think, Nike was founded in Eugene, so I think it's only right to say, just do it.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. Just pick it up and start filming.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Got an iPhone.
Get her done.
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Gar, do you have any?
I think the learning process is that certainly this guy went through was incredible. And I was really happy to be a part of that.
Yeah.
In that the project, I think, turned out really well. And I actually watched him working with, I won't mention Rick's name, but on set. And I like that. I'm a former teacher, so anything that has to do with education, I'm kind of like, just watching. I'm watching. And I watched it happening, and that was kind of cool. And I'm really glad for you that the project turned out as well as you think it did.
Thank you.
So that's it. That's all I got.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to bring today's episode to a close. Thank you guys all so much for coming, talking with me about your film, talking with our audience about your project. Do we have an idea of when we think it'll be out?
April
of this year. So keep an eye out on the channel for when you get to see the movie A First Name Basis. Thank you guys. For those of you who have stuck with us to the end, thank you so much. We appreciate you watching and joining us. If you have questions or comments, leave them downstairs in the comment question section. And if you have an independent film that you would like to come on Garage Talk and talk with us about, please reach out. We would love to talk with you. Thanks and have a great day.